Hello and welcome to Bobo Bunso Vintage Life. It's really lovely to have you join me here today. In today's chat I want to share with you some of my recent sewing makes. Some have happened just sort of in a flurry because they're quick, but as a rule my sewing has really slowed down this year, partly because of my Patreon. I'm sort of sewing for those projects. It's becoming more planned, and I've had a bit of a stumbling block at times of what I actually want to be wearing. So it's taking more time to consider what the gaps are in my wardrobe and what I actually want within it, and a more sustainable approach. I've always tried to be really sustainable in my sewing. Loving to use vintage fabrics, old curtains, repurposing what I've already got, and some of my sews here will include that. Mainly that's what I try and achieve in my sewing. Sometimes it came about, from not having the pennies for fabric. It came about by wanting to be more ethical and more conscious, but also I love to sew. I love to wear my handmade creations, and I wear them every day. I just don't buy clothes. I do buy shoes. I adore shoes. Now you'll see something new on Foxy Lady. I haven't quite finished it yet, and it's my third Hawthorn blouse from the Wearing History patterns. The first one I made I absolutely loved. It doesn't take up much fabric. I managed to get it out of 1 metre of fabric. It's a quick, really enjoyable sew, and obviously it's a 50s blouse that goes with everything. Since making my first one, I've made a few modifications to the pattern. I slightly modified the first one, but I've followed on making more modifications that will really fit me how I want it to look. Now this is the first version of the Hawthorn blouse I made in. It's quite a heavy weight. It feels more like upholstery cotton, but it is dressmaking cotton, in this sort of black sort of check, this black line, and I thought it got a real 50s feel. And of course you've got the beautiful Reva collar here, and then it folds over with 2 buttons here, and it's top stitched. The bottom part's top stitched on, and I did some decorative stitching. I did show this to you, and I put a side zip in. Now this one I absolutely love, but it hits on my tummy just as my tummy curves out, and I don't like that. I don't like the awkwardness of it. I wear this a lot, but I wanted one that comes down a bit longer at the front. So what I did was I altered the pattern so it has more of a curve at the front. I put a zip in the side. The pattern says you can, and obviously I'd know how to do that anyway, even if it didn't. And I brought the front and back darts in more. The other thing I altered from this first one was the sleeves would end down here, and I've sewn them up higher because I didn't want all my bra exposed at the sides. So I've done that too. Other than that, it is as the pattern is. Then I made a second one in this beautiful green. It's got it's undone at the moment, but it's got white buttons on here, and it's in this beautiful green cotton. It's a colour I really love. Just come up close to show it to you. And I made this on one Sunday evening when England were playing in the, God, what was I going to say? It might have been the FA Cup or European, or, well, I really don't know. I'm not being awkward, but they were playing in some important football match. It was the final. That's as far as my interest in football goes, I'm afraid. Everyone else was watching it, and I chose to sew. I'd been teaching a sewing workshop all that day, and it kind of really fired up my need to sew. After 6 hours of teaching others and being really inspired by what they were doing and supporting their sewing, I needed to itch my own need to sew. So I cut this fabric out, and I pretty much got it finished that evening on that Sunday, and just put the zip in the next morning. And then I wore this on the Tuesday to my daughter's graduation lunch. We went out for lunch before her graduation that was on later, when I wore the vampire's wife dress that I also started showing you the process of making it, so I'll be showing you that dress in a moment. Anyway, this is my second one. I'm going to pop it on and show you because I absolutely love it. So wait 2 seconds while I just get undressed and pop that on. I've literally just popped this on over the dress that I'm wearing, so if you see any lumps, but I don't know, I haven't taken the brooch off either. Shock horror. But I would wear this with my 1950s jeans, my wide leg trousers, or it can go in the waist of a lovely skirt. goes with loads, and I know I'm going to wear these blouses all year round. You know, great now for bare arms, and then I'll put knitwear over them in the colder months. So I'll just show you as much of the full length. You'll see the dress coming out the bottom if I get the angles wrong, but I'll just show you what this looks like. So there we go. Can you see the whole blouse? I've got the side zip in here, and I'll just spin so you show you the back. And then I've got the curve at the base, me wobbling on one foot. So that's this beautiful blouse, which I absolutely love, and it's one of my favourite shades of green. You know, when you find a pattern that you absolutely love, you just can't help but make a few versions. I probably haven't stopped because this just goes with everything. I have got some other river collar patterns that I really love, but it's just nice to have different. They button all down the fronts, so they're more floppy. This is just a very different pop over your head style, and you could make it without the zip, without taking the darts in, so you literally just pull it off and on. But I'm going to take this off and then show you some of the other things that I've made. It's really not easy getting a blouse off over a dress. It was all sticking. Oh, and by the way, this dress is from Charm Patterns Rita blouse that I hacked into a dress. That's what this is. It's a cool everyday dress just to pop on when I'm doing stuff at home. It's perfect for that. I do wear it out as well, but it's become sort of like a house dress really. Now I have started on my third Hawthorn blouse. You can see her here, and it's in this really zingy 1950s fabric. Let me just come up close and I can show it to you better. Now this is a gorgeous colour. I think it's fading out, it looks more orangey. It's a really lovely warm red, and there's some hot pink, mustard, there's black, there's purple and bits of white. So it's got a lot of colours going on in it, and it was a really narrow piece of fabric. I did show it to you a few videos ago. You know, 90 centimetres wide you expect with vintage fabrics, and from memory I think it's about 70 centimetres long. So not enough to get a blouse out of. My dear friend Kat said, I've got some of that as well, you know, the same amount. So she gave me her piece, which gave me enough to make this blouse, and then do some patching and piecing. So I'll show you what I did so that you can see how you can also use these lovely bits of fabric to try and get the best out of them. The buttons aren't sewn on at the moment, they've just got pins, so I have to be really careful with it. On the facings, I didn't have enough of the original fabric, so I've used a bit of red fabric. I'll show you what that comes from in a moment. So the facings are in that. I had enough to get in the main body. I always lay my pattern pieces out just to make sure that I can get mostly what I want. With the collar, I didn't have enough to cut it on the fold, but I could cut it out individually, separately. So I made a seam allowance, so there's a seam down the centre back. And then the under collar, this piece here is patchworked on. I've just patchworked all the pieces together, but the seams are all hidden underneath. And failing that, you could also cut with a centre back seam, you know, if you haven't got enough fabric to cut directly on the fold and you need to keep moving the pattern around. So there are ways to get the most out of these beautiful vintage fabrics and make sure that they're still used and enjoyed. So I'm really enjoying this. I've just got to sew the buttons on here, put the zip in the side and hem the bottom, and then she's done, ready to be worn also. Now the fabric that I used for the facings was from parts of this that was a dress once. Now this is a skirt I love to wear. It's a 4-gauge skirt, and I used the pockets from the Butterick, I think it's 6650, and sometimes I put my heart pockets on. But with this I made a dress. It was sleeveless with a v-neck, and I only wore it a couple of times, and I made it a few summers ago, and it just stays in my wardrobe and I don't reach for it. And so I'm being realistic about my wardrobe this year and really pulling out pieces that I know I won't wear, repurposing the fabric to other things, or selling those on or giving them to the charity shop. And the pieces that I give to the charity shop, it's a really good one where she always says who I am, and the people get in touch if they want alterations, and so I know the pieces are going on to be loved again, which is really fabulous. Now, as I said, this was part of a dress that I knew I wouldn't wear, so I took the bodice off, took the zip out of the back, then I've reused the original zip in here and thought I'd make it into a skirt. But the bodice was princess seam, so you know, off the grain it wouldn't have been good enough to make the waistband. But luckily I managed to get enough fabric. I got 0.2 meters to make the waistband. It's a curved waistband, if you see. That's all pinned ready to go. I've just got to do all the finishing bits. I've just sized it all up, put the zip in, I'm happy. But I used bits of the bodice to make the facings on the Hawthorn blouse. But I think they're going to look rather lovely together as well, very bright and zingy. And I remember showing this to you, my plans for it, with the black Hawthorn blouse, so that's coming on a treat as well. I'm really pleased that I will get some use out of that. That's not going to get wasted. Now this dress that I made recently, I named the Ellis shirt dress, inspired by the character Ellis Lacey from the book and the film Brooklyn. Well, obviously from the film, because I couldn't visualise what the shirt dress would look like in a book. Silly me. Well, I could, but you know what I'm saying. I needed a visual image. Saoirse Ronan wears some amazing costumes through Brooklyn, and the yellow shirt dress was a vintage original that the costume designer Odile Miro-Dix found in I think it was in a Montreal vintage shop, and it fitted Saoirse Ronan perfectly. And it's a very classic 1950s style. And this month on Patreon, I've done a talk which I absolutely loved putting together about the shirt waist to the shirt dress history, and it's called New Woman to New Look, and it's about the origins of the shirt dress from a shirt waist or waist, which was the old term for a blouse, for a woman's blouse, and how they evolved, and they were very much the emblem of the new woman, the emancipated woman who was fighting for suffrage and equality, the Gibson girl. And then it evolves through from the 20s, the sports dresses, to the shirt dresses. We have them in the 30s and the 40s, the shirt dresses, and then Christian Dior totally vavoomed the shirt dress from an everyday, easy to wear to a glamorous dress that you could wear day or evening, depending on what it's sewn in, but obviously has these big full skirts. And what I made was very much the 1950s day version of the shirt dress, and it's in this beautiful painterly fabric with vintage blue buttons on it, and I've made like a Reva collar, but one that sort of curves out, so it looks like a two-part collar, but I've done it so it's all drafted in one. And I showed my patrons how to pattern cut this. This was for my upper tier Trixie patrons, how to pattern cut it. And then it's got a four-gauge A-line skirt and big patch pockets, and it buttons all the way through. So I'm really, really pleased with this one. I think I need to stand back and show you the whole dress, don't I? So, oh, and you can see Vampire's wife hiding there. Now I've put the camera somewhere else. So back I go, and I will show you as much as I can. Unfortunately, my vision is blurred from this distance, so I can't see. I've got the big pockets here. I am going to make a sash to go around the waist, some sort of tie or something. But yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled with my shirt dress. Well, the Ellis shirt dress. So, an easy to pop on, lovely outfit to wear yet again. I was going to wear it yesterday, but I actually found the collar around my neck rather hot, which is extraordinary, but that shows how hot it is at the moment. Probably won't last for long, but yeah, it was too hot to wear yesterday. I had to quickly get changed before we went out. Right, on to the next thing. Popped on my Vampire's Wife inspired skyrocket dress. I can't do it totally up the back, and if I often use my back scratcher to hook on the zip and pull it up, but then I can't get out of it. I'm trapped in it for the rest of the day, and I don't want to mess this up because we're going to the theatre on Wednesday to see Cabaret, the musical in London, at the renamed Kit Kat Club, and I really fancy wearing this dress then. So yeah, I don't want to spend a whole day in it getting it all stinky, do I? But I just popped it on to show it to you. The neck would come up a little bit closer if it was zipped up, but I'll pop a photo up of me wearing it on the day of the graduation, or maybe one or two. We didn't get marvellous photos. It wasn't my day after all. It was Millie's day, but I felt fabulous in this dress. I'm definitely going to make another one, if not two, but I will alter them. I want to make one that has got the V's coming up at the waist all the way around. I opted not to do it for this one. I've just got a straight waist, between bodice and skirt, because I ran out of time and I just needed to get this dress made. I mean, I literally finished it the day before the graduation, so I just didn't have time to, I was going to say faff about, it's not faffing, is it? Sewing, it's enjoyment, but I didn't have time to do what I wanted. But I am going to make a more glamorous version, and probably a little bit longer as well, and with the V's going all the way around the waist, and I might even put some of the neck frills on the cuffs like they are in the original, and obviously more frills around the bottom. But I absolutely love this neck ruffle. What I did was I finished the neck, you know, the facings, overlocked around these edges because I didn't want the thickness of fabric. Reminds me a bit of like a lower level Elizabethan collar. I absolutely love it. And then I've got the sleeves here with the curve in them and the pleats. I didn't put shoulder poofles in because I felt they stood up enough, because this is a day dress. I just didn't want that, but for more of an evening one I probably would put a bit of support in at the shoulders. And I've got pockets, of course, inseam pockets, but I will just put the camera out again just to show you the full length so you see what this looks like, and you've had the image too. I'm not seeing the whole skirt, I'm afraid. I need to go on a different angle and I should be filming that, but I need someone to do me up. I'd like to show this dress off properly, to be absolutely honest. Slipping her hand in her pocket there. But on the bottom I have got the frill. It's laid on the top exactly the same way as I did the ruffle here, and it comes mid-calf and it's so swooshy. I absolutely love it. I am so thrilled with this dress. I think you can tell by my smiley face how much I love this dress. It's a glorious fabric I got from Missy Mops Fabrics. Definitely on there. She's got some amazing vintage fabric that's just come in, so Nikki is a fabulous place to go and shop if you want anything. And I love a black floral, what more can I say? So this was a dead stock, but you know, with a vintage vibe, and it doesn't crease at all, so it's really good. So I have got other sewing plans. There's jackets being made for Millie and one for me. I've got to finish up some trousers. I bought some fabric at a brocante on Sunday and some fabric that will be for things for my winter makes, but I'm not showing them to you now. You just don't need to be overloaded with all of this stuff. But yeah, things are buzzing along. As I said, I'm struggling somewhat with my wardrobe, and I know some of it is I'm bigger than I want to be, so things are really tight or I can't fit into certain things, so I'm addressing that. And I know my weight affects how I feel about my clothes and my relationship with them. It doesn't make me feel my best self when everything's tight. Obviously most of us don't want to wear tight clothes, and I know I'm not drawn to similar patterns or colours, there's certain, or shapes, you know. So yeah, I'm really having a think, and really taking my time to be more considered about the way that I make things, and what shapes, what I know I am going to wear a lot of. But for now, I'm very happy with my Hawthorn blouses, which I'll get a lot of wear out of. That sort of fits the, you know, when you've got to wear jeans, the weather's less pleasant, the less summery, less how I want it to be. And obviously I love my dresses for the hot summery days. Shirt dress for the more summery days, this lovely Vampire's Wife. I just feel I need a few more sort of cotton frocks for every day, you know, things that I feel really comfortable in. And I have got some plans and ideas for those. But I think that is enough for the catch up now on where my sewing has been going. I'll leave the links that you may find useful in the box below. Please have a chat. It's always lovely to have a chat with you about what you think. You know, you're so supportive and lovely, and I really enjoy getting to know who you are as well. So yeah, I really appreciate it. It's just really nice to know you're out there. So please subscribe if you don't already, and let people know I'm over here, because it's lovely to be able to connect with more and more people. So until I see you again very soon, which I think is going to be about knitting. It's not very suitable maybe for the hot weather, but I will still be knitting. I just won't be wearing those things so much, but I'm planning for the autumn and the winter, so need a bit of time to get those things knitted and sewn up. But until then, I shall say goodbye for now. I think it's time for me to round up our chat, don't you? So thanks for joining me today, and I shall see you again very soon. Bye bye for now.